The oven's preheated. I'm Mario. Unfortunately, we're without my Croatian co-host today, Franco. The table feels a lot emptier without that big head. But the one positive is we don't have to listen to his chronic cough in the mic this entire episode. Frank, we love you. Looking forward to having you back next week. We're The Oven Podcast. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, share, spank that subscribe button. And for the audio listeners, follow us and leave a 5-star review. Today, we're at one of our favorite spots, 317 Main Street in Farmingdale. You guys already know we're obsessed with the risotto here. The drinks are good. The ambiance is great. We always have a great time. We always leave full. We love it. Now, the man of the hour. He was the winner of Chopped back in 2011. He's an author, a life coach. The list goes on and on and on. Here he is, Chef Eric LeVine.
Keep it cooking in the oven. The oven. Yep. The oven. The oven. The oven. Yep. The oven. The oven. Smells good. The oven.
The oven.
Yep. The oven.
The oven. The oven.
Yep. The oven. The oven.
All right, Chef, what do we got here? You caught me off guard. There was a little miscommunication between you and I.
That's all right, which is typically me. So you want food? You let me know. I don't know. Yeah, figure it out. Anyway, so this is our one of our specials that we run right now at the restaurant. It's a tuna sampler. So it's got a sumac seared tuna that we have a marinated, like kind of a cilantro tuna, and then our tuna tartare. So it's kind of a play, and I like to play with my food. So this is our meat and cheese platter. So we have an assorted, rotating domestic and imported cheeses and meats. So it's great. We make our homemade pickles, and it's one of those things that we have fun with. I think that everyone loves this because it's a shareable, and people love sharing food. This is a shareable also, and I try to make it so that when people come to the restaurant, they have multiple reasons to buy multiple things and make it an experience, not just one dish. This is mine. Fuck you. That's yours. Like when Deb and I go out for dinner, we're about that. Like we'll share everything, and we don't eat a tremendous amount of food, but we like to try tasting. We go to tasting menus all the time. Wherever we could find, we always look, is there a tasting menu? Because we like to pick. And I graze. Cheryl says you don't eat a meal, you graze. And in the last few years, I lost a tremendous amount of weight. I lost 186 pounds and changed my lifestyle, and I just eat differently. So you have to find ways to enjoy food and change your lifestyle and change your approach to it.
Moderation.
But I love food. I love trying new things. Can't take the heat anymore. Literally can't take spice.
Really?
But so by changing my diet, I can't eat beef. Can't digest it. The heat kicks the shit out of me. Deb's daughter, Olivia, loves spicy. So like if I make ramen for her, it's like she wants more spice or whatever it is, more spice. And like I want to try it. Like once in a while she'll send me a message from, like she sees something on TikTok. She's like, can you make this? And once she saw this ramen, like ultra spicy ramen. And we did a little thing at the house and tested it. I was like, burned my ass for like a week. It was terrible. Listen, I love spice. But man, sometimes it just gets that Scoville rating that just rips your eyes out.
Yeah, unfortunately, when I had those, what are those? The one bite Doritos. What are those called?
One chip challenge.
Oh, the one chip challenge.
You have the ghost pepper?
Oh man, they were just as hot on the way out as they were on the way in.
Yeah, I tell people
bad.
all the time because we do ghost pepper at the restaurant, and it's a rub, and people are like, oh, can you get a side of it? I'm like, no, you can't. You're fucking gonna burn your face off. One time when I was prepping it out, we dehydrate and then we grind it. Well, when I had one of my restaurants in Jersey, I always wore goggles and gloves because it got really atmospheric and, it got ugly. So one time I didn't realize I had some on my eyebrow. I was driving home and I, rubbed my eyes and all of a sudden it was in my fucking eyes.
Oh my.
And I can't see, so I'm trying to pull off to the side of the road as best I can. And all of a sudden I see in my eyelids, I see the flashing of the red and the blue. I know it's a cop and he taps on the window and I roll the thing down. And he's like, what the hell are you doing stopping in the middle of the highway? I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I got ghost pepper in my eye. He goes, why do you have ghost pepper in your eye? I'm like, you think I fucking put it there? So he goes, wait a minute, you own the restaurant up the block, don't you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're in the middle of Route 110. I'm gonna pull you over. So I pulled over and he gave me some eye wash and it now became a thing. So he went back, must have gone back to the precinct, told all the cops there. He goes, oh, Chef Eric, ghost pepper in the eye in the middle of the night. And every time they came in, they're like, "Hey, can we get ghost pepper?" I'm like, "Fuck you," you know.
He probably thought you were like on drugs, hallucinating
Yeah,
for a
well,
second.
and he gave me some
The ghost
ayahuasca.
pepper, the ghost
Yeah,
pepper.
that was brutal. I do not recommend ghost pepper in the eye, ever. Stay away from that shit.
Man, but every time you tell a story or you get into one thing, it leads to another. I feel like you're such a complex individual. And when I was coming up with my list, I had no idea where to start. I was like, do I start in the beginning? Do I start with the Food Network? Do I start with the restaurant? I was like, I'm not sure. And you're just so dynamic and so much to
appreciate that.
share, and just it's incredible.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, you know, it's 55 years of walking the face of the earth, and I have been through nothing but amazing, insane shit. And I always like to, you know, play scars with my buddies, you know, to see who has had the weirdest shit happen to them. I always win. They're all like, you know, it's my life has been nothing but a cluster of amazing shit. And the more you grow, the more you do, the more you make mistakes, and the more challenges you have, the more depth you have to it. So like I'm teaching at conferences. At the end of this month, I'm teaching at a conference. I'm the keynote for the conference, and I didn't want to talk about food, right? I wanted to talk about change. You know, in the last few years, my lifestyle has completely changed. My mindset has completely changed, which brought me from being 360-something pounds to 172 pounds, right? So my lifestyle has completely changed. Like I told you about a marathon. I ran my first marathon. I've never been a runner, never thought about it, never wanted it. And then I did it. And it was the coolest shit. It was crazy, but it was the coolest shit ever to be able to accomplish that. And they say like 1% of the population ever runs a marathon. And, you know, to be part of that group and not be a runner, now I can say I'm a runner. I mean, I finished the marathon. I got the gold to show it, and the scars to prove it, and I'll have the knee replacement. And but it was a wild journey. Like you don't think about 26.2 miles, and people are like, you know, how hard could it be? You know, like it was probably, besides meeting Deb, the greatest experience of my life, but it was one of the most painful because at mile 13, I blew out my left knee. Coming over the 59th Street Bridge on the 16th mile, I tore my right groin. And then the rest of the time, it's just running on that shit, you know? But I couldn't, like the crowds were amazing. Like I'm from Brooklyn, and I've never experienced the boroughs like this. Like everybody came out. Everybody had a great time. It was like a party, and I was in the last group, so we started at 11:30. And because of the injuries, it slowed me down a lot. So the sun had already set. But everyone was still out at night cheering you on, high-fiving you, some trying to give you alcohol, some giving you peanuts, most of them giving you water, sometimes water. I came over they call it the Last Damn Bridge. It's the Willis Avenue Bridge, I think it's called, and they called it the Last Damn Bridge. I came over the bridge, and there was this woman there with a table full of watermelon. And I love watermelon, but in my mind I'm going, what if she poisons me and I die and I don't finish the race, right? I'm like, there's only a couple more miles to go. Let me have it. I'll eat it. If I die, listen, you know, beaten death before. But it was great, and it kept me motivated, and it was a great time. And then I got past the finish line, and I was in hypothermia. It was wild. It was just a wild thing. It's like the more shit that you do, the crazier life becomes, and the more, like, it's wild. This is great. You know, it's just an amazing experience.
That's awesome. I love watermelon too. I wouldn't have passed that up.
I love watermelon.
But we were talking about this briefly before. The hypothermia blew my mind. That was the last thing I thought when we came in here, when we did the kitchen app, that you were going to tell me that you got hypothermia. Tell us about that. How does that happen?
So never really running a marathon or anything like that. You don't realize how much your body, you know, dehydrates. I see the finish line, and this woman comes running to me. She's like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "I don't know." It's Eric. And you know, because they announce you that you're crossing the finish line, and then I get to the finish line, and I run as fast as I can, and then I walk after, and this guy puts the medal on me. I'm holding onto a table. He's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "No, I'm something's going on here." So they get me into a wheelchair, roll me into the medical tent, and the first thing they do is take my temperature and my pulse and my blood pressure, and my body temperature was at 91.6, and the doctor's like, "You are in he's in hypothermia, get in the blankets." So they put me in this cot bed, wrap me up, and they do this thing where it's like this air pressure blanket, it was like a big warm hug. It was the greatest.
Because they can't make it too hot too quickly.
Too quickly, right? So they got to bring you up in temp,
Yeah.
and then
and for anyone who doesn't know, the normal body temperature is 98.6.
yeah.
Yours was 91.
1.6. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're like, you're in hypothermia. I'm like, okay, cool. What does that mean? They're like, we got to get your temp up, or you're gonna go into shock. And I was like, oh, cool. So Deb's blowing up my phone. My daughter's blowing up my phone, and I'm like, yeah, I'm in the medical tent. They're like, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah. And they wouldn't let them in. So this nurse was with me, and I go, listen, do me a big favor. Can you get the wife in here? I'm like, just get her. You'll see her. She's outside. She's a petite brunette with a great ass. Just get her in here. It's, you know. So Deb comes in. She's like, did you say that to her? I'm like, yeah, it was in my head. She's like, I don't know what to do with you. I'm like, I know. That's why you love me.
I'm an ass man too.
Yeah, there you go. But so what happens is, so now I'm warm, and Deb had to go get the car because it was like miles away, and they don't let you come up to the park because it's still blocked off because the marathon's still going on. So my daughter and I walk across, I think it was, I want to say 69th to 2nd Avenue, so Deb could meet us and pick us up. So we're at the corner, and I'm like, Steph, this is a gelato store here. She's like, yeah. I'm like, I need some sorbet. She's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, I need some sorbet now. I ran 26.2, get me some sorbet. So she goes in, gets it for me. She's like, I can't believe you're gonna do that. And then Deb's like, why don't you just have something warm? I'm like, you know. And I took 2 licks of it, I threw it in the garbage. I was like, yeah, just get me home. It took me 2 weeks to recover.
Hypothermia, and you go and have ice.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, I never claimed to be smart, okay? That's what, listen, it's like running a marathon on my knee with no cartilage. Not the brightest move, but I did it. I did it, and I finished, and I got the medal, and I got the story, and I never do anything normal or average. It's always an epic fashion, and how weird could it get, you know? It's like beating cancer, right? So, you know, another cool story. So I won Chopped, and the night before we taped, I had treatment for the cancer. I was told by my oncologist that has 6 to 8 months to live. So everyone's like, why are you going on? And because I'm dark in my humor. And I'm like, well, listen, if I go on and die and win, I die a winner, right? If I go on and lose, what are they gonna go, oh, this guy sucks, can't beat cancer and can't win Chopped? I'm like, what are they gonna do? It's like, no one, the greatest gift that I have is that I am unfuckable with. You can't say anything to me that I haven't said to my own face with a gun in my mouth. You know, like, what are you gonna do? Like back then, you're gonna say I'm fat. Oh, boo-hoo. You know, like what can you say to me that I haven't beaten myself up 1,000 times over? So I'm okay with life, you know, and I have the greatest. I have the greatest life ever. I want nothing more.
And how much do you attribute that to your success? Your ability to tune out the background noise and forget about what everyone else is saying?
I would definitely say a lot, because you know we're all human beings, and everybody is in the sphere of wanting people to love them, to love what they do, to, you know, when I make a dish, I don't just make a dish, I want you to love it. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to experience a little bit of me, right? And when you don't like it, you know, now I've learned that, you know, okay, that's your opinion. You know, you get thousands of people come through the restaurant, you're gonna get a Yelp here and there, oh, place sucks, chef sucks, service sucks, place sucks. Okay, but then sometimes people suck.
You can't please everybody.
No, and I, as much as I want to believe you can, that's always my goal, is to serve. Like, I know my why. My why is to serve my staff, my family, my customers. When you know your why, everything else is easy. But you can't make everybody happy. But I used to lose my mind and lose sleep because someone would write something about my food or whatever. But that's an extension of you. I don't care who you are. It's what you do. I don't get the ego in the way anymore. I killed my ego.
Ego death, we've talked about that.
Yeah, and it's a lesson. It's a hard lesson. You know, I messed up. I messed up really, really bad in a relationship, and thank God things come together. But it took me to such a shitty level that I had to kill that part of me. Like, when you get to a certain point in life, you realize how bad that ego can be. And when you go through ego death and you kill that fucking thing, it is the most amazing feeling in the world, because you're so clear. You know, you're so in the moment. You know, you're conscious, and you're in the now, right? The power of now, how amazing that is. When you understand that, and there's a thing called no mind consciousness. When you are so connected to what you do. Everything you touch, there's a reason, there's a feeling, there's a vibe. When you can pull your mind into, I know it's deep and shit, but
No, I love this. I love
but
this.
it's pretty wild when you can get that ethereal into your why, into your person, and you kill that ego, and you just realize how amazing the world is. As long as you're a good person, and my mom has always told me, mom is a hippie and she's awesome, but she always used to tell me, I didn't understand it until I met Deb, that like really like that phrase, you know, all you need is love. Like really, like that embodies everything. Like if you could just love people and not judge people and understand people and be willing to be open to that, everything else is, yeah, everyone's got their thing. Everyone's got their shit. Everyone's got their issues. Everyone's got whatever. But the more you understand about people, and the more you understand that love is what matters, and that's what everybody craves, right? That whole, you know, Jordan Peterson's got this amazing, I don't know if you watch him at all.
I've watched some of his
He's
clips.
so deep. He's a philosopher, and he's got this great mindset. But, you know, when you watch him and you listen to things that he's saying that, you know, is at a whole other level of education, but when you break it down into its dust, you're like, I got it. Now that makes sense. But you got to go through a lot of that, and you got to be willing to listen to that and pay attention to that and make notes. I make notes all the time, you know?
And this ties into something else that you believe in. I know you understand the importance of being true to yourself and authenticity.
100%.
So when you're able to be true to yourself and live authentically, you're able to give and receive love in a way that's appropriate.
Listen, the level, and I go back to Deb all the time because it changed my life. Understanding that, and she was the catalyst for it. So like, I was married for 31 years, great woman, mother of my children. Life happens, but I didn't understand the ability to receive or to give it. Right? I thought you just do what you do. You know, we got married really young. We both had a lot of baggage.
Compromises, right? Isn't that what we do?
You're just like, okay, yeah, that, you know, or you keep your mouth shut, or you fight, right? And I don't want to fight. Like I never, you know, I grew up in that. I grew up in that nightmare of ugly violence, just crazy shit. And to be able to be authentic and to be really raw and to have no boundaries and no borders in a relationship, it's the greatest gift ever, because then you understand the ability to, what you just said, to give and receive. I never thought I was worthy of it. It's a whole weird psychological bullshit, but it's so true. And it changed everything for me. How I cook, it's weird. How I taste, how I look at things, the whole spectrum of everything. Like when you're able to do that, everything is easy. You know, it's you don't worry about the crazy shit. You don't worry about what you can't do. You focus on what you can do, right? And if more people did that, instead of playing little mind games and little bullshit things, if you're authentic and you just say the way it is, the way you see it, not everyone's gonna be able to handle that. They're gonna go, oh, you hurt my feelings. Fuck your feelings.
But you breathe easy.
Oh my God.
When you're not living a lie. When you're being true to yourself, everything you're just.
That's 100%.
Your whole demeanor changes.
When you're authentic and you don't need to hide anything, lie about anything, everything is just so much easier. And everybody lies. Everybody lies for whatever reasons they do. Sometimes they don't realize it, or sometimes they build a lie on top of a lie on top of a lie. But inevitably, the truth comes out in the wash, right? Everything comes out in the wash. You can't hide from anything. It's like I tell my staff here, you know, when people are chirping about something, I find out fucking everything and things I don't want to know. I don't want to know about their personal lives, because then it becomes too attached, right? But I want to know what I need to know to help them for the business. And if it's personal, it's a side thing, right? But yeah, but that authenticity, the understanding of you don't need to hide behind anything to protect yourself, and you could be raw. For me, like with Deb, it changed everything for me. Like, I'm 55, and you never stop learning. But when you learn at that in that personal level, and just everything changed. So the way I approach things, completely different. I don't think about what my needs are. I think about how I could serve and do better. Like I want to be better, because when I'm better for me, I'm better for her.
Absolutely.
I'm better for my kids, for her kids, for our families, for my business, for my people, for the people I meet. And I want to learn from people. When I go to a table, I don't say, oh, how's everything?
What do you say?
I say, how are you enjoying your dining experience? right? So when I'm at a restaurant, because I'm an asshole, when someone says, how's everything? I'm like, my knee's been bothering me. They're like, what? I'm like, well, you asked how everything is. What?
You're that guy.
Oh, I am that fucking guy. But I'm also, I'll also look at how things are, and I can't not say something to a restaurant owner who doesn't realize what's going on. Like, I do a lot of consulting. And the consulting is an amazing thing because I've lost millions. Mm-hmm. I've had more failure than I've had success. And that's a great thing. People are like, oh, I don't want to fail. Fuck you. You want to fail. You want to learn lessons. You know?
Do you listen to Ed Mylett? The Ed Mylett Show?
Yeah. Ed's great.
He's my favorite. The line he says where you're most qualified to help the person you used to be. I love that line.
Yeah.
So
no, it's very
all
true.
your mistakes.
And that's when you the podcast that I listen to Andy Frisella, Real
You
AF.
love him.
Yeah, Andy's a good buddy, and I love the guy. He's authentic and he's real and he's raw, and I love that. Not everyone can handle him, but fuck that. If you can't handle him, then you don't want to grow. That was Andy in 75 Hard was the reason I changed my mindset. On November 3rd, 2021, that's when it changed. That's when fucking everything changed for me. It just clicked.
So that was the tipping point. That was it.
100%. And I learned so much from Andy, right? Like the approach. And listen, and I've also learned a lot about business through him and how he runs. I mean, he's got multiple businesses, but his biggest one is First Form. Mm-hmm. And I use their energy drink and all their other stuff, and it's great shit. But I learned so much from his approach to business, his approach to mindset, and that changed everything. And through him, I found him through Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary is a good friend, and he's one of those guys that he gets it, but he's very different. So I stopped listening to him for probably 4 years, and I just jumped back into it again because there's certain parts of what he does that doesn't apply to me. But then I learned that you can listen to everybody and learn something. I was never a Tony Robbins fan. I never listened to his stuff. Mm-hmm. Because he did a podcast with Jordan Peterson, I listened. And I'll tell you, because I always thought it was this whole culty kind of thing. My cousin was involved with it. And I'm like, you're a fucking cultist. But his message is so interesting. And it's so he speaks, I didn't realize he spoke my language, right? It's raw, and I found Gary Vee at a conference I wasn't at, but it was next door to a conference I was teaching at, and I walked into the conference he was teaching. He was talking about Smurfs and fucking being authentic to you and doing what you love, and I'm like, this guy's fucking awesome. And I just followed him. So he put out a book, and he was doing a talk at 92K in the city, and I went with my buddy, and we're going, and he didn't know that Gary and I were connected now, and we're in the front row, and he starts talking about something. He goes like, I know what I know, but I'm not going to open up a restaurant. I'm going to go to my buddy Chef Eric over here. And my buddy's like, the fuck? It's he knows his shit. I'm going to fucking go to him. And there was a break in between. He's like, the fuck, man? I go, what? He's like, how does he know you? I'm like, I'm famous. He's like, you're a fucking asshole. I go, no, we connected. So one of my restaurants in Jersey, when Gary talks about his days in the dungeon and scooping ice, his liquor store was next door to one of my restaurants.
Wow.
So it was kind of wild. So I had no idea it was him until he talked about it. So all these connections, all these little things, but Gary brought me to Andy, and Andy saved my fucking life.
That's awesome.
You know, of all the things, a person who I've never spent time with, learned so much from. And I didn't realize the impact you never know who's watching you, right? You never know who's paying attention to what you do, what you put out there on social media. So I share my life. I share my cooking. I share my lifestyle.
You're very open on social media.
Because I think that if I could change one person's life and help them, it's worth it. But I can't tell you how many people how many people DM me, you saved my life, you saved my business, and I'm like, really? And then you realize that what you say and do can matter to one person. And one person.
Just one person, it's worth it.
It's like the spark, right?
100%.
And so I'm teaching at this conference at the end of the month, and I'm not talking about the food, I'm talking about how you could change your life. Because there's a lot of who I was at this conference. You know, the person who is so wrapped up in the food that they forget to take care of themselves. They forget that they matter. Oh, I got to make the perfect dish. I got to get it out. All right. Well, what happens when you have a heart attack? You're not drinking water, not eating healthy. You're eating this way, you're doing that, and you're not exercising. You got to take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the only you have.
Yeah.
And
To
there's
best,
somebody
serve,
saying
to best serve the people around you, you have to take care of
Yeah,
yourself.
100%.
There's no
Like
one around.
I am the best version of me now, and there are areas that I'm working on, and I got to shift back to because I kind of got out of my rhythm after the marathon.
And that happens.
But yeah, I'm only human, and I revel and love my mistakes because I get to share the shit that I did, so you don't have to make it, so
Right.
they don't have to make it, so that and whether it's in my food, my relationships, my business, whatever, like you can take all that stuff, and I am working on my autobiography. But I want to be able to share that because you can have impact on people. You can have impact on their lifestyle. And if you could do it, they could do it. There's no excuse. I own restaurants. I'm in it 7 days a week, 16, 18 hours a day. If I could do it and work out twice a day, 7 days a week, change my lifestyle, anyway, there's no fucking excuse other than you being lazy and you don't care. You can say you don't
or
care.
maybe not even lazy, just undisciplined.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You could say I don't have time, but when you learn discipline, and it starts at 1 day at a time, man. It's like being an addict, right? You could only take 1 day at a time. It doesn't matter if you messed up your workout yesterday. What are you doing today to change that, right? What are you doing today to have impact on your life? And people go through life not thinking about that.
Don't wait for Monday to make a change. Don't wait for January 1st to make a change.
Yeah.
Just tomorrow.
Well,
Start
that's
fresh.
why, like, when the new year was coming around, I was posting my shit. I'm like, don't fucking post new year, new me, because you're going to be the same shitty you.
Yeah.
Unless you really make a change. So start today. Every day is a day one, right? The
Yeah,
old saying.
exactly.
And it's what you're doing and how you're flowing with it and where you're going with it and what you doing to make the world a better place. At least your world. You may not be able to have impact on anyone around you. I'm blessed, but it comes from the hard work. I do a lot of TV. I do a lot of things, and it comes from the hard work and being relentless. And listen, I got to have conversations with Tim Grover. One time I took a picture of me, selfie, and he's like, tuck in your fucking shirt. I'm like, what? He's like, look at the way you
I
are
just
in life.
heard that in his voice. I heard you say it in his voice.
Like, tuck in your fucking shirt, man. You worked so hard to get here. Be proud of that. Tuck in your shirt. I'm like, okay. And I did. And I was like, wow. I didn't feel embarrassed. Like, for so long, I mean, I was wearing a size 50 pants. Now I'm a 32. Like, it's like completely different. Like, when you change that and you feel that and you're living it, can you inspire others to be that? Can you inspire someone to save themselves? No one's going to come and do it for you. No one's doing the work for you. No, just like no one put the cake in my mouth, right? No one put the chocolate bar in my hand. No one put the burger in my hand. No one did. It was me. I made a conscious decision not to care about myself.
Yeah.
Oh, poor me. Well,
Yeah.
you could find a way. If you want something bad enough, you will find a way to make it work.
Absolutely.
Right?
You brought up autobiography.
Yes.
Before we talk about that, tell us about Forkin Good.
So Forkin Good is my fourth cookbook. It will be back on stock, I think, this coming week on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And this book kind of like embodies where I am in my cooking style. For me, this was great because I did all the photography for it. I had, Kathy Fang, who was a really well-known chef. She had a show on Food Network called House of Fang. She did the forward for my cookbook. There's a little blurb in here from Manit Chauhan, Kenji. A lot of really cool people jumped in and gave me some words on it. But I love this book, not only because it's new and exciting, but because it really speaks to where I am as a cook. And that before anything else, before the TV, I am a cook first. So I try to always go step back in my roots of that and kind of continue to develop and get back on the line. And just everything changes, but it's a great fun cookbook. So it's one of those things that I'm very proud of, and it took a lot of work. The publisher
Looks great.
It's a great book, but I'm going to do a podcast one day on what not to do when writing a cookbook. And if people think there's money in cookbooks, there's not. It is a good marketing tool. It's good to share, but if you think you're going to get rich on a cookbook, you're not. There's a lot to it, man. It is a fucking nightmare. But the only photography I didn't do on this is the ones of me. and my buddy Mo Morales did it. Came out from Jersey, great photographer, really amazing dude, and like he's helped me along the way over the years doing the portrait photography for me for social media, and he's an amazing dude. And to be able to have people like that in your life who want you to be amazing and to be successful, and you pay it forward, right?
Yeah.
You do good things for people,
Absolutely.
and it comes back, and or just do good things because you want to do good things.
Just because, yeah.
So the autobiography I'm working on, which is a very hard thing to do because you're writing about yourself, and I'm not good at it. It's like talking about the awards or all the accolades. It's weird. It's like I can't talk well about me. I'll give you the content. You write it. So I'm working on that right now. ChatGPT is a great fucking thing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm learning to embrace that technology. I suck with technology. I'm always like, where'd it go? And they're like, oh, the app's right here. Stupid. You delete it. I'm like, all right.
Well, we were just talking about that before. If you don't stay up to technology, all you're doing is falling behind because it's not stopping.
It's not stopping.
AI is the future.
Yeah, it's really cool I was scrolling, and somehow this AI thing it's the weirdest thing in the universe, but it took these images of me and put it in like the what would you call it, like the olden times when it's like
Like black and white?
No, but like kings and castles and wizards.
Oh,
and,
okay. Medieval.
Like, medieval. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah, like medieval time. And it was like, I sent the pictures to Deb. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing because I didn't prompt it or anything. It's just something was showing me what I would look like if I was in Game of Thrones. It was so fucking weird. And I'm like, but it's kind of cool. Look at my wavy hair, my golden beard, and I'm like, I am royalty.
It's a little scary though, because now they're putting things together that make you think they actually happen. So that's kind of scary too.
The world is a weird vampire place. It's like you just look at something and go, is it real?
Yeah. You got to second guess everything.
Everything,
now.
yeah.
Everything
which is
you
crazy,
see on the internet.
Which is crazy.
But I think this is the longest I've sat next to burrata and prosciutto without sticking my fork in it.
Well, stick your fork in
this
it.
Conversation, I mean, we're over a half hour and this is incredible. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I really do.
Thank you.
I have a few more questions for you. I want to know, you brought up, what's important to you as a chef, as a cook. What's the greatest compliment someone can give to you as a chef?
The greatest gift.
Compliment.
The greatest compliment. That's a hard one because it's food, so it's very personal. But when they feel like they connect to the dish, like it happens a lot here where people will say, "This is the best X I've ever had in my life." We had two people last night who were like, "I've never had a burger here, and this is the greatest fucking burger I've ever had." I'm like, "You've never had a burger? It's just a great blend, the bun, everything, the ratios are right." So I think that compliment is probably the greatest. And then when people have something that they've never had, like we do the chef table here, when they try things that they've never had and they experience it and they go, wow, and then they come back and they're like, I had this dish at another, a duck dish at another restaurant. It was terrible. You ruined me. I'm like, awesome. So now you just have to come here for that dish. But I guess it's when people enjoy the creative flavors and the things that are not normal, when they can taste the love in it, I think that's probably the greatest compliment. And the fact that they come back often, it's a beautiful thing.
And I feel like also too, it's not a compliment you might hear, but smells and tastes, I feel like have a crazy way of bringing you back to another place, like a memory.
100%.
Like I was at this restaurant one time, very sentimental moment to me. My Nona passed, I think it's been about 7 years ago.
Right.
And
sorry.
yeah, there you go. I mean, I was digging in. She passed like 7 years ago, and with her Italian family, it was always food. My connection with her in my mind is food.
Right.
I tried these meatballs, and I literally felt like I was sitting in her dining room.
That's beautiful.
So like that was a crazy experience.
Yeah, I think, and people connect to food so much, which is another reason for this cookbook, because Forkin Good brings you back to the table, right? And you think about memories. The best memories I've had was everyone gathering together as far as food together and eating and sharing, and experiences are different. So like, I love making gnocchi. And when I first met Deb, she was like, oh, my aunt makes the best gnocchi. She's like, and we put the ridges in it. Her aunt didn't do that. So we had this constant back and forth thing. And then one day she texts me a picture of the gnocchi from her aunt. And it had the ridges. And I go, have the ridges? She's like, yeah. I asked her why she never did that before. And she said, oh, because I didn't have time. This is how you're supposed to make it. And I did the happiest dance in the universe because we were back and forth forever on that. Because it was like, you put the ridges in, it catches the sauce. She's like, no, my Nona never did that. I might see it, never did that.
That's what that's for.
Yeah, and to have, it was really one of those moments that was like, because we have so much fun together, we just bust each other's shoes all the time. And to have that moment where she had to go, fuck, you're right. I'm like, I'll win her.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. But we have a lot of those moments. We have a lot of fun together. That's the thing, like with life, when you enjoy it and have fun with it, no matter what goes on the outside, when you got that core moment and you're together, that shit's the most amazing thing.
That's so huge, and it ties into like the ego and rushing to the next step in life, the next goal, the next this, the next dollar, and you forget to focus on the little moments. I say this.
Yeah.
I say you got to remember to pick up the coins along the way. Don't just go for the pot of gold at the finish line.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
That
not very, Confucius-like, but I like that.
It's very true. Like for me, I was always chasing what's next. And I didn't realize, and that's where the ego death came into play. Understanding that. And that's one of the things that the clarity that I had with Deb was understanding I don't need to chase because what I have is all I need, right? And that goes for food, that goes for relationships. Like my relationship with Deb will be forever. We will finish the rest of our lives together because we have such a connection that there's no chase in anything, not for her and not for me. It's like I chase her around the house, but I chase that constant, like when you get there, it's a fucking, it's like, it's hard to contain it because it's so like amazing. And to be able to be in that position, to accept it and to be able to give it, right? But now I'm able to do that in so many other ways. And you also have to know that when you try with somebody, in whatever the relationship is, and they can't see your worth, you can only try so hard. You can't force anybody to see your worth. I can't make my customers love me. I have to be able to show them and they have to love it or not. And I can't get spooked by them not. It's okay, listen, we're here 5.5 years. They love what we do. And it's not me, it's our team, right? It's the environment, it's my partners, it's everything that we do to make the business successful. But at the end of the day, you can't force anything on anybody. I know some amazing chefs, their food is mind-bending, but they can't sell it. They can't, there's a reason for it. Like people say to me, oh, I got a place, it would be a great place for a restaurant. Like, why isn't there a restaurant there now? Is it there's no need? Or that people screw up in the area, or it's the market. You have to understand that. As much as you want to put the greatest restaurant in a place, if nobody shows up, who cares? I know some guys and girls who are amazing chefs. They just don't have the business acumen to get to, where they want to be. Again, ego. It's like during COVID. I know so many restaurants that shut down because they wouldn't pivot. This is what I do. When you're going to die, you will literally die. You'll kill your business. You need to pivot. Oh, well, maybe we can get some loan. No, you're not getting a loan. You're not getting anything. No one's coming to save you. Save your fucking self.
That's not just restaurants, in life in general. The only constant is change, and you have to adapt.
Yeah.
You have to adapt. You'll get left behind if you don't. Same thing with the technology.
Yeah.
Not to change the subject. I got to slip in at least one Food Network question.
Sure.
And, Franco's not here with us today, but this one, he specifically came up with this one, so I want to give him the credit. Again, can't wait to have him back next week.
Heal up, buddy.
Yeah. We got, if you could only watch one of these Food Network shows, which would it be? Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, Guys, Grocery Games, Beat Bobby Flay.
Oh, diners.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I love Guy Fieri, and I think from watching him start on the Food Network in the next Food Network star, I loved him from the moment I saw when he came on set. His energy, his authenticity, his weirdness, I love that, and the fact that he doesn't hide or mask anything. At least his persona is that. And I love how he goes to the little places and talks about food, and that's why I was talking about, like, there's so many great chefs out there. There are. I love a good cook. I love someone who knows just the love and passion of cooking food, and he brings that to the TV. I wish I created that show, because I'd love to run around the country and do that. On a motorcycle, of course, on a Harley. But, you know, it's like one of those things that he is just, I love his energy, man.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
anything he does, like he does the Tournament of Champions, and I'm addicted to it. Ed Mylett, who's a friend of mine, she wrote the foreword for my last cookbook, and she was a judge on Chopped.
Nice.
She was one of my judges, and we got to become friendly. And she's just an authentic person. I love the fact that she's on it, and she's won twice, and I just love the show. I love the energy, and I love what he does with it, and how he, you know, there's a group
He
of
ties in the community,
yeah,
too.
Yeah, and that's, I think, is a great thing when you learn about a place that you've never seen or would never see because you're never through that town.
Yep.
And now you're through that town. Wait, shit, that guy or girl did this and that, and you go to it and you find that little hole in the wall, you know, that drive-in, that diner, right?
I love that you said that, because for me, I like diners, drive-ins, and dives because my brother was obsessed with the show.
Yeah.
We'd plan vacations. He would
Around
have a
that?
list
Oh, that's awesome.
of which,
I love that.
what places
Isn't that
were on the
great?
show. He's like, all right, we got to stop
Yeah.
here. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something to be said for what TV can do. Like, I do a lot of Channel 12, Channel 11. I do Fox and Friends all the time. So and Fox and Friends is you know, it's national, it's global, and I get messages from people like, "Where's your restaurant? I want to come in," and people show up. It's wild how that media hits and then goes. And like Channel 12, when I do a segment on that, it's Jersey, it's Long Island, it's Connecticut, and Westchester. And I get people from all over. They're in town for their kids' soccer tournament. Oh, I saw you did a segment on Channel 12, and you know, I wanted to come in. That's the coolest
That's
shit
awesome.
ever.
Before I ask you the finishing question, tell everyone where they can find you.
Okay, social media at Chef Eric L on Instagram. My website is chefericl.com, 317mainstreet.com. I'm here pretty much all the time. Yeah, that's really, social media is where you find me. Or come to the restaurant here in Farmingdale, and yeah. See, I don't know. I'm
Absolutely.
everywhere.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere. Everywhere with the
and
food, that's
nowhere
what he
else.
is.
Yeah,
Forkin Good. Don't forget, grab the book.
Forkin Good. I do love
Not the
I love
title you
that.
wanted, but,
no,
you know.
I wanted fucking good, but no one would agree with me. Like, you can't say fucking good. I'm like, why not? They're like, it's not appropriate. I'm like,
I know Kristen over there loves to play on words with the
Yeah.
Forkin. I know she's
Yeah.
big on that. So, last question. If you could sit down to dinner with anyone, dead or alive, and ask them any questions, who would it be?
Jesus.
Why Jesus?
There's so many questions I have, right?
You and me
it's,
both.
And it's like, you know, understanding the words. Like, I am not a holy preacher, blah, 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 blah. But the stories of his life, right? So we could all be in this bubble and it not be true, but I choose to believe that good always beats evil, right? So in the words, so if you take a look at every religious document, the Quran or the Bible or whatever
Torah.
it is, the Torah, it always has the same foundation. Be a good person. Don't kill anybody. Don't fuck anyone else's wife. Don't steal. Don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna get yelled at by. She's gonna yell at me for saying it that way. But it's like the foundation is just be a good fucking person, right? So I try to live that way, and I would love to know so many things about being a better person and healing people around you and understanding of the connection between, you know, the Holy Trinity, right? And understanding the philosophy better, right? You could look at everything and take it at face value. And listen, you know, in the book of Revelations, there may not have been the 7-headed dragon, right? But what did it mean? How high was John when he was writing this, right? Was he like cracked out or like, you know, taking opioids? And like, where was his mind? And like, just to learn and understand that and have a better understanding of life, right? Like, you think you know, but you know nothing. I know nothing. I know nothing about anything. I am the idiot in the room. I always go and gravitate towards the smartest person because I want to learn from him or her. And yeah, I think the philosophy that Jesus had makes people better if you embrace it. It doesn't have to be the whole Christ on the cross type thing, but the theory of dying for sins, right? It's interesting. It's really interesting.
Really.
Like,
But the fact that we have the ability to sin and still go to heaven
right.
because he sacrificed his life for us.
Exactly. And to understand, free will, right? Free will. The ability to accept something that you've never, I could say I've seen it, because when I was dying from a heroin overdose, I was saved. I can't explain it to anybody, and they're like, "Oh, well, that's your body coming out of this." I'm like, no. I didn't hear what I felt it. So I can't deny it. That's why I have a tattoo of Christ on my arm. So every day I wake up, I remember what I was, not what I am, but what I was, because I always want to learn the lesson. So the lesson that I learned in faith that day, and again, I'm not some Bible banging guy, but I realized that there's a greater power than me. It could be a rock. Mm-hmm. As long as you understand that you are not the most important thing in the world, that what you do matters, right? It's like ideas. Ideas are for shit. Execution is the game, right? That's the most important thing. How you execute on it. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of ideas. I have literal books of ideas in my office. I write all the time. I log all the time. Some of the things, the weirdest shit in the universe, most will never come to fruition, but I have the book to keep doing it. In fact, Deb for Christmas got me this book, beautiful leather-bound book, and I write in it. The only thing I write is about us in the book. And every day, so at the end of the year, I'm gonna give her that book back, and I want her to read it, because the impact that someone can have on you is massive. The impact that my faith has on me is massive. So I don't care. There could be people, my brother or my dad are atheists. They don't believe in that. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. But my proof is my proof. I can't change your mind. If I have an argument with someone on politics or religion, I'm not going to change your mind. I'm smart enough to know that I will never change your mind. You will always scream your point of view in my face because you think you're right. Mm-hmm. And I may think you're wrong, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. You have your point of view, and that's the great thing about free will. You have your point of view. Believe what you want to believe. You believe that this fork is going to save you? Go for it, man.
That's Forkin Good.
It is Forkin Good. So is the book.
Chef, unbelievable conversation.
Thanks for having me.
The conversation was so good. I had one bite of the prosciutto and the burrata over there. Thank you for this spread. I appreciate it. Thank you for welcoming us to 317.
Thanks for having me.
Incredible.
Thank
you.
Thank you. All right.
Guys, we're the Oven Podcast. Like, comment, share, spank that subscribe button on YouTube. Audio listeners, follow us and leave a 5-star review. Go get his book, Forkin Good, right now.
Forkin Good.
And don't forget, there's always an open seat for you at the Oven.
We teamed up with Underdog Fantasy. We have a promo code OVEN. We're going to give you 50% cash back on your deposit, maximum $500. That's a free $250 in the bag for you if you do it the right way. It's free money. Money in the bag. And Dubby Energy. Same code OVEN, get you 10% off your first order. I think every order, actually, correct? Every order moving forward. 10% off Dubby Energy drinks. They're the clean energy. We love them. You're going to love them.
Keep it cooking in the oven. The oven.
The oven.
Yep. The oven. The oven.